Do you need a birthday pterodactyl blessing?
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
I don't think he has the energy.
Scheduled him here at the lodge in the hope that he would manifest
The
the
pterodactyl.
pterodactyl.
We have 3 dogs. Indian official dog posse.
When we're suspending with all order.
Chaos.
You come to the lodge, we have Robert's Rules of Order, we have a business meeting, we open, we close it, we have the reading of the minutes. We're just going to do away with all of it. Welcome to the Theosophical Society. The society was founded in 1875 and has 3 avowed objects, a 4th being to get Jonathan in his seat. And the first object is to form a nucleus of the universal hood without distinction of race, creed, sex, caste, or color. Encourage the comparative study of religion, philosophy, and science, and investigate the unexplained laws of nature and the powers latent in sentient beings throughout the Federation of Planets and beyond. This lodge has, the Theosophical Society's motto is, no religion higher than truth. And at this lodge, we've added a second line, no religion higher than truth, no power greater than love. So thank you all for joining us this evening, and I would like us to just take a moment and come into the silence for a minute just to bring ourselves together. Thank you. Okay, here we go.
The clear light is the source of life that lighteth every one of humankind that cometh into the world. It is the radiance of cosmic consciousness. Yogins realize it while still in the fleshly body, and all humans glimpse it at the moment of death. It is the light of the Buddha, the Christ, and all masters of life, and to the devotee whom it shines unrepeatedly. It is the Guru and the Deliverer.
Ask Mary to sing a song for us.
So this is the river meditation, and our friend Joe Miller sang it, and he was in vaudeville. So we'll see what I can do with it. When the mind is left in the primordial, unmodified condition, knowledge dawneth when this condition is maintained, comparable to the flow of a calm river. Knowledge in its completeness is attained, wholly abandon all directing and shaping of thought, ever maintain quiescence of mind, O yogi.
Wow.
That's the river meditation of Milarepa. In the iconography, you'll see Milarepa. He's always got his hand up to his ear like this. And his skin is green because he drank so much nettles that his skin turned green. Matrika, Midi-Chlorians in the Mysterium. And so last night I had a wave of anxiety and I said, oh, I I don't think I can get us through what I want to get us through in this talk. Maybe I'll do this other time. I said, no. Everyone who comes, all these people who are coming are brave adventurers. They wouldn't be friends of mine if they weren't brave adventurers, and even the people that I don't know, they have to be brave adventurers and have shown up here. Like Sirius Black's house, it seems like it's not even there, and then a door opens up and suddenly you're inside, and the eyes of the paintings are following you around. So welcome. It's free, and it's been in existence since 1901, and we've never charged anything of anybody, and somehow we're on Knob Hill, so go figure. But this is going to be uncharted territory, this talk, but our country is going into uncharted territory, and our planet is already in uncharted territory, so we might as well try some new patterns. I'm going to stick to these notes, not because I want to remember, but because I want to stay on my timeline to make sure that we get through all this content, and I'd love to practice a little, but I'm going to save practices to the end, so if we have time for them, we do. If we don't, we don't. I want to make sure I get the download for what it's worth. So just context, we just had our autumnal equinox in the north of the world and the vernal equinox in the south of the world, and we also, a couple of weeks ago, went through a full moon and an eclipse, and we're heading towards the Samhain and the Celtic New Year of October 31st and November 1st, and Day of the Dead, November 1st, November 2nd. So, and we're 2/3 of the way through the year of the Yang Fire Monkey.
Thank God.
God has help us all. And so that's just like where we are. I don't go into the astrological signs. I leave them from other people. I just like to know where the moon is, what phase the moon is in, and where we are in relation to the Celtic cross-quarter festivals, and what year the Chinese Tibetan calendar says it is. But I'll put this image here. This is the Panchamukha Hanuman. It's a 5-faced Hanuman. That's the form he went into battle against the great demon in the Great War. And he manifested 5 faces. One of them is his, of course. One of them is Narasimha's, the lion god. One of them is Garuda's, and etc. All 4 directions and the zenith, so that he could provide 300 full spectrum security for those who were with him. Full spectrum protection for those who were with him. So I thought that was a good image for us. This is Sedna, the Inuit sea goddess, homage to the medicine of the North. A lot of this talk is east-west. There's going to be, we're going to get to Scriabin and Spinoza, and we're going to get to Matrika and Maitreya. And so I wanted to make sure we honored the North and the South. So this is the Inuit sea goddess. This talk has 3 movements. The first movement is the evening Spinoza visited. The second movement is Gaia, cosmos, and extraterrestrial life. And the third movement is Can you say that with me? We got to get them. That's why. So this picture is from Burning Man, which I was fortunate enough to get to this year. Some of my friends who were there with me are here tonight, and this is the stage that I was fortunate enough to give a workshop, a yoga and meditation workshop at Red Lightning Camp. It's a beautiful space, the mandala tent. This project, though, you're going to be inside. I'm not going to read new writing tonight. But you're going to be inside of new writing. We're going to be doing while we're here. And this project is from Beltane 2016 developing 2017, and one thing is my memoirs, which I'm working on, and the other one is a one-volume edition of the Primal Reality books, which will also have an audio book, so that's where we are. There's some themes that came about in the books, and so just to touch on them really briefly, because we'll allude to some of them. Singularity I'll go into in more depth as we go along. The primal reality, which is the way I talk about who and what we really are, and a different view of what CDs are and what human incarnation, some new language. And the three, what I call three overarching themes for the path of an evolutionary in the 21st century: ascendancy of the feminine and human and divine, altruism and sustainability as spiritual and existential imperatives, and the evolution of yoga and tantra, which is happening, it's happening globally, but it's happening largely in the West. And cauldron yoga. By cauldron yoga, I mean that the human incarnation itself, each of our incarnations, is Caradon's cauldron. It is the witch's cauldron. It is the cauldron of all life, and the cauldron yoga is just my way of looking at the art of living. Our pursuit of the art of living is what I call cauldron yoga. Gaian poetics. By Gaian poetics, I just mean that all our sense of truth and beauty that's worth anything, to me at least, comes from our intimate relationship with Gaia, which means with all of our senses, with all the senses of all those other beings, with our limbs, with our power to movement and our power to make noise. Everything comes, our power to walk, everything comes out of our intimate relationship with Gaia, all our poetics. In the ancient future, just the acknowledgement, something about the mystery of our source and the mystery of our final destination, and that there is more to us and this and time than the materialist's linear conception of time as moving from the past through the present into the future, or the mystic's conception of time as a circle. There's something more that encompasses both those things, but also is open-ended. So I talk about the spiral a lot, but I like to invoke the notion of an ancient future. So, first movement. The evening Spinoza visited. So this is, I've told a few stories of experiences over the past decade or so, but this is another one of them. And I was sitting. It was a Sunday evening. It was late. It was dusk. It was late afternoon, early evening, and I was going to be talking to a friend who very dear to me that night, and that friend would have just been coming back from a weekend with her friends, and I was thinking about the conversation, and I knew that she was out, diving off of high boulders into lakes and everything else. And I knew that at some point in our conversation, after I heard about her weekend, she'd say, "What did you do this weekend?" And I was wondering what I would say. So, because if I said, "Well, I was writing all weekend," it could be misleading, because you might think of somebody like this. And if I said, "Well, I was meditating all weekend," that would sound really pretentious, like somebody was, And or if I said, "Well, I was contemplating the nature of the universe all weekend," that too would sound, at best, pretentious. And if I said, "Well, I was lighting candles and praying for the alleviation of suffering of all sentient beings," that would have sounded strange. They all would have been true, but they would not have been what they could have sounded like. So I was laughing at myself. How do I describe what I did this weekend? And then all of a sudden, I could have said nothing too, which would have been a more accurate thing, but it also would have been misleading. So then I noticed there was a presence in the room with me, seemingly materialized out of nowhere. again, like I said, it was dusk, the hour of power, the orchid hour. You know, when one yogi once described it as when the Great Mother takes the infant of the day from one breast, the infant of life from one breast, the breast of day, and moves it to the breast of night. That hour in there, when the light changes. And there was another presence in my room. And I looked up, and there was this man, bearded man in 1500s, 1600s, I guess, 1600 garb, long brown robe. And he walks up he approaches me as I'm sitting there, and he says, "Do you know who I am?" And I said, "You're Baruch Spinoza." And he said, "Well, how do you know this?" And I said, "Well, because I read you when I was 11. And he said, "And how is that possible?" And I thought for a moment. I said, "How is that possible?" I mean, look, there are plenty of precocious, people who have written, played all of Mozart's whatevers, or written, or read a ton of the world's philosophy before at a young age. But if you knew the circumstances of my childhood, which you will know when you read my memoir, the idea that I somehow came across the writings of Baruch Spinoza and read them at 11 is hard to fathom. So I was pondering how to answer his question, and he answered it. He said, "This is who you have always been." It was a vision that I had. He said, "This is who you've always been." Something. It was another one of those moments where something changed, and tumblers on locks in safes that hadn't been opened, and things were different, and other things were more accessible to me than had been before. And my friend called, we had our conversation. I could have given her any one of those reasons. She would have been, "Oh yeah, of course you meditated all weekend." She wouldn't have thought it was strange. I thought it was strange. But she said, "Then what did you do this weekend?" I said, "Oh, I was just abiding." And it was the first time I was comfortable with my answer. I was just abiding. Because I had this visit from Spinoza. So who was Spinoza? Because then it turns out that he's relevant to this whole tangent that we're on. So this is Baruch Spinoza. He was a Jew living in Amsterdam. He was a lens grinder. He ground down glass into lenses from microscopes and telescopes, really good ones. And his writings succeeded in getting him banished. They signed, the rabbis signed an order banishing him, expelling him from the Jewish community of Amsterdam, the Sephardi Jewish community of Amsterdam, and the Catholic Church condemned his books. And his friends collected them all secretly and published them secretly after his death to avoid them being burned, etc., etc. So clearly, Baruch Spinoza did everything right. And what was there? The philosophers today will argue, well, was he a pantheist? Meaning, let me get this right. Pantheist, of course, is everything all is God. God is everything. All nature is God. But then there are others who say, no, he wasn't a pantheist. He was a panentheist, which is nature is in God. Pantheist is nature is God, and panentheist is nature is in God. Yeah, right. Like we care. He was tuned in. And what were his crimes? Well, God is one. That is the only one substance that can be granted in the universe. Whatsoever is in God, and without God nothing can be or be conceived. God is the indwelling and not the transient cause of all things. All things which are in God. Baruch Spinoza. So, second, Gaia, cosmos, and extraterrestrial life. So, in the fifth book of the series, right, the fifth book called Yoga, Gaia, and Poetics, and the Way of the Ancient Future, right at the end, I knew how the book would end, but then right at the end, there's a flurry of additional things came to me. And I said, well, maybe I have to add these on. And I tried for 2 weeks to fit them into the end of this book. And I said, no, these don't really belong in this book. These are the beginning of the next octave. So I left them out, and that was the right thing to do. And then, so this is the beginning of the next octave. And these are the things that didn't end up at the end of the 5th book of that series. And in that series, particularly in that book, I wrote a lot about the writings of Lovelock, James Lovelock, the man who named the planet, the man who co-author of the Gaia theory, and then also of Stephen Howard Boner, who wrote Plant Intelligence and the Imaginal Realm, 2 amazing bodies of work, and talking about how this planet, well, I'll read you this one line from Lovelock. We're doing okay. This one line from Lovelock sums up a lot. The climate and the chemical properties of the Earth, now and throughout its history, seem always to have been optimal for life. For this to have happened by chance is as unlikely as to survive unscathed a drive blindfold through the rush hour traffic. In other words, for there not to be an intelligence within the conditions that have arisen and sustained over how many billions of years on this planet, it would be more likely that you could get through a heavy rush hour traffic blindfolded, driving blindfolded. So he says, well, of course, this planet is itself self-organizing intelligence. And he named it Gaia. And then Boner goes on to talk about how it happens, 85% of the history of the life on this planet is solely microorganisms. 85% of life on this planet, the timeline was organisms. And that the last common ancestor of all the organisms on this planet, us, the apes, everything, the last universal common ancestor, the Luca, L-U-C-A, for every life form on this planet was bacteria. So he talks about bacteria, neural network of the planet is bacteria. Okay, so this is what started off this chain of openings. And so then I remembered something Joe Miller said, the legendary American sage who brought us all together here in this place. Vaudevillian and burlesque entertainer who finished the 8th grade and had lamas saying he was Tulku and Sufis saying he was a Murshid, and he never took a dime from anybody, and he never would say he was anybody's teacher. He said life was their teacher, and he impacted the life of thousands of people, and by extension many more. But anyway, he said this. He said at some future time, we'll have grown to a stature where our bodies can be an entire planet, and all the humanity the same as particles within our physical bodies now. We'll know about all that when life itself is love, love and life are one. And he used to, every once in a while, he would talk about how we're all going to become planets down the road. That's the arc of evolution that we're on. And then I thought back to this, what I had gotten from Lovelock and Boner about the Gaia being this. And so I said, well, Gaia was once something, this planet was once something like us. And at some point we will be something like Gaia. This is a different view of our journey. So, and then there's other teaching from the Theosophical Society. Hello, I love you, Jimmy. So good to see you. Because I'm talking about Blavatsky now. Blavatsky taught Blavatsky taught about the ring past knot. She said there was a ring past knot around the solar system. We couldn't get out of here until we cleaned up our act. The rest of the universe was safe, like a quarantine, you know. And that if we didn't reach a certain point of evolution, we could, whatever we wanted to try, we're not getting out of the solar system. Okay, like a penal colony. But and she's written. It's a very elaborate. But then I was thinking about this ring past not, and I was thinking about the singularity, not the computer singularity, which is another important thing that a lot of us are ruminating about. Ross and Sonia recently gave a talk, and Ross had touched on that brilliantly. That's part of all this, but we'll get to that in a minute. But I mean the singularity, that the human race itself has become a singularity, because basically our technological evolution has outdistanced our spiritual and psychological evolution. And so our technological evolution has got together with our ignorance and run off with the planet. And so we're in a position where, well, we've triggered the 6th great extinction. We are ourselves our own comet, and the comet of most of, maybe 50–80% of all the species on the planet. We've triggered the 6th great extinction. We've created our own geological age starting in the 50s. It's not official yet, but it will be in the 50s with nuclear power and plastics and carbon burning of fossil fuels. And we have, we destroyed the climate. We are in the process of destroying the climate, the global climate upon which our civilization is predicated. So our civilization is destroying the climate upon which it is predicated. That's where we are. And I say it's a singularity because we've created an impossibility for ourselves, and the only way out of this impossibility is some kind of great shift, some kind of evolutionary leap. The kind of thing that if you look at it on a line, it doesn't make any sense. It's just something that happens. So I thought, this is the ring past not. It's not some invisible barrier around, Pluto to the sun. It's coded into our evolutionary arc. Either we make it through a certain set of problems, or the Gaia just presses the reset button and starts another painting. But we're, what's left of us will be rather different. So it led me to think of these two passages from the Theosophical teachings. And then, so there are implications to all of this. So implications to all if the ring past not is around our system, it's around every system. I think that's a plausible assumption. It's just an assumption, but I'm going to work on that hypothesis. And so I started to think about the implications, and the implications of Gaia being a self-organizing planetary intelligence. And one thing I thought about was artificial intelligence and this issue about singularity, the computer singularity, because, well, what if the singularity is occurring, the computer singularity is occurring, it's the subject of movies like The Matrix, right, and Skynet and Terminator, right? Well, so singularity happens. I think Gaia's self-organizing planetary intelligence would be much more interesting. Artificial intelligence succeeded in interfacing with the neural network. I told you we were going into uncharted territory. Succeeded in communicating directly with the bacterial neural network of Gaia. Imagine the conversation that Gaia and the internet would have about us if they got together. Well, we were, right? So that's one thing to ponder.
Wow.
Second thing to ponder is in the realm of science fiction, ancient alien, the milieu of ancient aliens and chart of gods. I love this stuff. But just think about it for a minute. I mean, it's all based on our patriarchal anthropocentric projection. It's usually white, blonde, some is white, blonde men, or men coming to mate with the apes and bringing us technology and all. I mean, for all we know it's true, but I'm just saying, well, just think about how it's framed, how we look at it. And think about it this way: take me to your leader. Well, if beings succeeded in either interstellar space travel or moving interdimensionally, which is a whole other thing. Let's just say beings from another planet succeeded in one of these two ways of traveling here. They would have made it past their ring pass now, which means they would have reached a certain level of, shall we say, sophistication. Maybe they could think, the Iroquois, the matriarch of the Iroquois, thought 7 generations on every consequence. Maybe these people by then could think 70 generations into the consequences of their actions. But by the time they get here, they're not going to land on the White House lawn and say, take me to your leader. They're not going to land at the UN Plaza and say, take me to your leader. They're going to go get their visa stamped by the Great Barrier Reef or drop down into the crater of Pele's volcano on the Big Island. They're going to go talk to the Amazon or the Congo. And then, after they've discussed the situation with the planet, because they will have been emissaries from what? Another self-organizing planetary intelligence that they learned to be in communication with, in balance with, before they ever got it off their rock. So that takes us to Stephen Hawking's scientifically grounded, common sense warnings. He's said several things in the past few years about the dangers. Like, don't think that somebody coming from another planet is going to be benign. They can just do what we did, do what the Europeans did to the indigenous populations of the countries they conquered. They could just wipe us out and take their natural resources or enslave us or do anything they wanted. Well, that's all true. And it's perfectly sound where it's coming from. And, Einstein had a copy of The Secret Doctrine on his desk. It was heavily annotated. I doubt Stephen Hawking has a copy of The Secret Doctrine on his desk, so it's okay. And he's right from his point of view, but my hunch is, if anybody is here now or has been here or gets here, they're not on the wrong side of things. Let's just put it that way. I don't think they could make it that far. I don't think evil gets that far from home. So that's just something. So I thought, well, our thinking about all of that will change. Third movement. Now we're into. Can we say? Okay. So why? Okay. Matrikas, Midi-Chlorians, Mysterium, and Maitreya. It just happened that way, 4 M's, so I figured we might as well use it. I like this image of the Matrikas, the 7 goddesses, the 7 mothers, because they're being led here into battle and in fact, this is one of the versions. Some versions say 7, some versions say 8. I don't care. It doesn't really matter. But in this version, there's 8 of them, and they're being led into battle by a version of Durga in the great battle against the great demon. So I like this one because usually you see them lined up in a row, and Shiva's on one side and Ganesha's on the other side. They're kind of just all standing there posing for a class picture. For this one, they're in action. So I like this version. One of the, you read descriptions of them, and one thing that keeps coming out is the goddesses of war, goddesses around children and childbirth, and around liberation. So this is this amazing picture that they took off of video footage from Aleppo of a young boy that was pulled out of the rubble just in August this year. And it's a beautiful statue of Matrika. So there's all kinds of, we could spend our entire hour talking about different versions of Matrikas from different eras in India and different territories in India. I don't care. And all I want to communicate is that just feel them as 7 powers, 7 or 8 powers, and they are accessible to you. And their mission is focused on the war for liberation, the struggle for liberation, for moksha. And their particular focus, other particular focus is the protection of children. Nothing could be more important to tune into at this time in human history. Interestingly, the Pleiades and Matrikas are they're the Matrikas are the Pleiades are the Matrikas, and interestingly enough, there's dispute as to how many of the Pleiades there are. 7 or are there 8? But the Pleiades have their own storied Greek myth, but there are also the stories of the Matrikas in the Indian mythos, and they've always spoken to me. And there's a lot of New Age content about the Pleiades. A lot of people channeling the Pleiades. A lot of authorized agents of the Pleiades among us. That's all for you to evaluate for your own. All I'm suggesting is to go out in the night sky, find the Pleiades, and strike up your own conversation and see what you come up with. And the one that I see my friend Jeff there, Jeff Ray is here. And Jeff is a member of the board of directors of this lodge, and he's also our unofficial lodge science officer. And he has kept us abreast of developments in quantum physics and other cutting edge things for over 20 years at the lodge here. And he also is an astronomer. He's a chemist by profession, but he's an astronomer as a hobby. And he took me out. We were out in the off the grid one night, and it was the first time I ever looked into a real telescope. And many years ago, it's the first time I ever looked into a real telescope. And I don't know whether he was showing me the Crab Nebula or Jupiter. I don't know what it was. It doesn't matter. He showed us a few things that night. He would dial them up and we'd look. But the first time I ever looked through that telescope, I had this experience, and I just blurted out, I'm looking at the inside. You look through a telescope, a really good telescope, you're looking at the inside. I don't know how else to say it. And to some people it'll sound crazy, but to other people here you'll know what I mean. If you look out into space, you are looking deep into being. I don't know how to describe it, but it was an amazing experience, and Jeff gave me that experience. So find the Pleiades and just make up your own, have your own conversation. Matrika. So then there's, I call Occult Matrika. So Shiva Sutras is a very important book in my journey. And it's one I used to study with Joe. And so we studied the 15th, and the 18th Sutra of the Shiva Sutras for many years. Kashmir Shaivism, 8th century to 12th century. And those 3 sutras we went over for years. And then after he passed on, I made a deeper study of the sutras around them. And for myself, the first sutra is just, the 5th sutra, the one we were studying, Udyamo Bharava, the emergence of creation. It's the pulsation, it's divine pulsation, right? The Udyamo Bharava, the emergence of the projection of the universe, the sustenance of the universe, and the reabsorption of the universe from the space between 2 thoughts. And with every breath, 21,400 times a day for us as individuals, Udyamo Bharava, the emergence of the universe. And that's the 5th sutra. The 1st sutra is just foundational consciousness, absolute knowledge, absolute power. The 2nd sutra is a Navamala. A Navamala. So experience myself as me, and I experience Zach as Zach. Now there's two of us, or three of us, or there's individuation. And the third sutra is Maya-mala and Karma-mala. Maya-mala is, okay, now that there's Zach and I, we have a world, right? Because there's two of us and then everything's relational. So now there's Maya, Maya-mala, and Karma-mala is everything that happens as a consequence of me thinking I'm me and Zach thinking he's Zach and us thinking that we're in this world together, and then all the consequences, Karma-mala. And then the fourth sutra is Matrika. Matrika. So what is the sutra? The sutras that say about Matrika, the mother of the power of sound, corresponding to the letters of the alphabet. This power is called mother because it produces the entire universe. It is the ununderstood mother of the power of sound inherent in the alphabet that is the basis of all knowledge, etc., etc., etc. So the power, well, yes, the power of the word, but the word we know means more than just the letters of the alphabet. It's the syllables, the power of the syllables, the power of mantra, the power of vibration, the power of the unstruck sound itself, the Nada Brahma. It's all sound. The universe in one way is all sound, all vibration. So it's the power of everything. The mother of the power of sound. So the Pleiades, Matrika, magical powers. This is a beautiful painting from, I guess, the 1800s of the Pleiades. So just develop your own relationship to these things, and it can be as simple as there are these feminine powers, divine feminine powers that I can draw on, and there is a physical locality in space-time that I can look to cultivate that connection, and I can draw on them through the power of sound, which can be as simple as or ah, or they're really all quite efficient. Don't let anybody scare you about sound. We'll go back there if we have time. No, the Midi-Chlorians. So the Midi-Chlorians, how many people know you, of course? Anybody else? Midi-Chlorians?
It's been a while that I've heard.
You know, yeah. So it depends. So it's Star Wars. This is a Star Wars myth, right? But now we're at a critical point because Disney has bought Star Wars from Lucas. And the Midi-Chlorians were in the Lucas version, but J.J. Abrams' people indicate the Midi-Chlorians may not be in the new version. They'll still be there. They can ignore them if they want. It's not like the Midi-Chlorians don't exist, but they may not. It's a little bit complicated for what they're going for. We'll see if the Midi-Chlorians make it into the J.J. Abrams versions. But anyway, they're part of the myth. And what are they? So the Force, synonymous with prana, synonymous with chi. The Midi-Chlorians, let me just read you this from the Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Wikipedia. The Wikipedia. And you know, the Wikipedia, I swear, when I started researching this, I looked it up and it's already been updated and, you know, refined further. What they said about the Midi-Chlorians. The Midi-Chlorians, intelligent, microscopic life forms that serve as organelles within all living cells existing in symbiotic relationship with the beings they inhabit and compromising a collective consciousness among themselves, present in all life. They allow for a connection with the pervasive energy field known as the Force. According to legend, the Midi-Chlorians originated on a planet in the heart of the galaxy from which all life is said to emerge. So right now, we're full of Midi-Chlorians because the Force is strong and new in many different ways. But it resonated with what we were talking about a single planet being one, a self-organizing intelligence and all the life within it, and life evolving, and then the Midi-Chlorians are this whole realm of creatures inside of you, which are basically channeling the force for you, helping make sure your connections to the force are open. They probably love in yoga. Probably the Midi-Chlorians go, wow, thank God they found you. So there's that. The third M, Mysterium. This is a beautiful light painting of the triple goddess, moon goddess of the Welsh triple moon goddess. Beautiful image. So first thing about the Mysterium is that, so Black Elk says the center which is here, but which we know is really everywhere, is Wakantanka, right? Wakantanka. But beautiful. Usually we read that read as, translated as Great Spirit. But Russell Means, the great activist, says it's actually more accurate to say Wakantanka is the Great Mystery. So I'm going with Russell on this. The Great Mystery. Mysterium, it's a Latin word. So it has a history. It has an interesting history. This is a passage from, I read a passage from Aldous Huxley's The Door of Perception, where he describes his encounter with the Mysterium Tremendum, which was both terrifyingly exalting and exaltingly terrifying. And this is a picture of Scriabin. Okay, Scriabin, the great composer, the great mad composer. And the last thing he was working on before he died at 44 was a week-long, it was a week or 2 weeks long, piece of symphony that was going to be performed in the Himalayas, and he was going to invite the entire human race and all the animals and insects, and he had drawn elaborate drawings of the different stages and where everyone would sit and what it would be like, and he was working on the music when he died, and he said it would end, the world would end when the music ended, and it would be an ecstatic end. It would be, the great shift would have taken place, but damn, he didn't finish. I think 1909, we could have saved so much trouble if he had only finished that piece of music. But anyway, the prefatory music is there. You can find it on Spotify, but it's there. Scriabin was tuned into something, but when you work without a net, things happen. So,
The sound is powerful stuff.
yeah, Scriabin. Check it out. This is another image from Burning Man. This is just a horned woman running across the fire in the night, bathed in purple light for some reason. It wasn't just Scriabin and Huxley. Jacob Bohm, whose work I love, the great German shoemaker. Spinoza was a lens grinder. Bohm was a shoemaker. You see, they had day jobs. They didn't live off their disciples or whatever. Bohm was a shoemaker, and he did well. But when his writings came out, the authorities said that there is more blasphemy. There is as much blasphemy in this book as many lines there are. Every line of this book is blasphemy. And that book was Mysterium Magnum. This is Jung. I can't pronounce. The Mysterium
Canuncionis.
Who said that?
Oh, from Aki.
All right. Can you say it again?
Canuncionis.
All right.
It's from the
This is the guy on the internet when you play.
It's the same word as conjunction, except it's in Latin.
Thank you.
Yeah, from the process, yeah.
Yeah. So these are some quotes from Jung's Mysterium, and I love it. Everything psychic is pregnant with the future. The fourth M. Good. Maitreya. So this is Maitreya, the coming Buddha, the Buddha of love, right? And this is a valley up in the north of India, and he is facing Pakistan. And I don't ever want him to get up or turn around. He's facing a nuclear-tipped, failed state of Pakistan, and he's not moving. And it's an amazing place. I've never been there, but I hope it lasts. And this is him close up. He's 32 meters. How much is a meter?
About a
About a
3 feet.
yard,
How
close
much is
to
a
a
yard? How
yard.
many feet?
3 feet.
3 feet,
So
69.
3 feet times 32.
100 feet.
So there he is. Okay, Maitreya. Bear with me for a minute. So the Buddha, there are people claiming to be Maitreya among us now. I leave that up to your discernment. There are people who want to tell you that we'll all be Maitreya, but there's a little trick to that. But I'll just read you what actually, because he's quoted a lot, and I think sometimes he's taken a lot. This is actually what Thich Nhat Hanh said. He said, the Buddha, Shakyamuni, predicted the next Buddha would be Maitreya, Buddha of love. It is possible that the next Buddha will not take the form of an individual. The next Buddha may take the form of a community practicing understanding and loving kindness, a community practicing mindful living. A practice can be carried out as a group, as a city, as a nation. Sounds like a good idea to me. So my new hashtag, Occupy Maitreya. And so Maitreya, Occupy Maitreya, so what do I mean? So I've swapped out the image of Maitreya. It's a beautiful Buddha, but all the Buddhas are men. And there's the iconography is balanced compared to the iconography of the West, but still, Maitreya, all the Buddhas of all the times are men. And so I swapped it out for this Adhanari, which is a favorite Adhanari of mine, because most of the Adhanaris, by the way, the original original symbol of the Dharma wasn't the statue of Buddha, wasn't the image of Buddha, it was a foot. It's just a bare foot was the original symbol of the Dharma teachings. And but I swapped it out for this Adhanari. I particularly like this Adhanari. Adhanari is the manifestation, half Shakti, half Shiva, a being that's half male and half female. I like this particular one because most of the ones, if you look at the artwork, they're pretty much men, pictures of a man dressed as a woman on one side and a man on the other. The artists don't really understand what the Adhanari, what it's talking about in the psyche. And I'm not talking about a trans woman on one side and a man on the other. I mean, literally, they don't understand the masculine and feminine. It's just they change the clothes on one side. It's just a guy. So it's hard to find an Adhanari that really has the internal, the somatic truth of this. And I love this one. It really is kind of male and female. This is not just about gender, of course, and the permutations of gender. It's about every psyche. No, we don't know what a real man is because real men in our culture don't get to have full access to the feminine half of their psyche and vice versa. So it's about everything internal. It's not just about sexuality or gender or orientation or anything like that. It's about everything. So Adhanari I always put forth, so I swapped out Maitreya for Adhanari. Say they're synonymous. So highlight altruism and sustainability as spiritual and existential imperatives. And then I'm going to do this because we're almost done. I'm going to jump out of here for a minute. See where it says power of nothing? Okay. I'm going to go over here and I am going to play you a few minutes of Joe Miller giving a talk in April 1987, a talk called Nothing. And it was right after was it the 100th anniversary of the bridge or the 75th? No, it couldn't have been 100th. Must have been the 50th anniversary of the bridge? Yeah, thank you. So let me just, Lenny. Make sure I get the time right. And we're almost there.
so many people on that bridge, it flattened out.
Yes, we're getting there. Which was,
Was that 86,
87. And it just happened when he gave his
And there were
talk.
4 cops
He never
and
stopped talking.
500,000 people.
Here, inside the chest, there's something we call it heart. In other words, the higher mind is located here. And once you get into the higher mind, or the Turiya state, the clear state, it opens up for you. It opens up as fast as you want it to. But it's up to you individually. And what I'm talking about is nothing. I'll tell you something else that happened to me. I get Christmas cards at Christmas. But one Christmas, I got this card with no signature on it. You observe? It's a Japanese symbol. And so I thought, who can this be from? And then after I turned it over, I understood that symbol means nothing. How do you like that? It's rather a surprise at Christmas, I'll tell you. Now, how many of you were on the bridge? Any of you? Number of you? Okay. That bridge, and nobody mentioned it afterwards when they called into the commentators and said, well, it shouldn't have been handled this way, it should have been handled that way. What the hell, it's no good, you know what I mean? They didn't handle it right. There was 800,000 people on the bridge. Where the hell did that 800,000 come from? Where did they come from? And besides that, there was 150,000 more that couldn't get on the bridge. Who told them to be there? Who said that they was going to win anything by being there? Nobody? Nobody. So when this nothing is so big that it can move that many people to do something they probably didn't even know why they did it except to be there, that's wonderful. Because in their minds, anybody that tell them to get up that early in the morning and say they're nuts. What for? We haven't got any chance to win anything. What the hell are we going there for? Let's stay in bed. Or let's watch it on TV. Of course, I, being lazy, did watch it on TV. And it was wonderful. They even flattened out the bridge. You can't put enough trucks and cars on to do it. But when you looked along it that way, the thing was flat. They pushed it on down. Bounced up after they got on. Then I'll tell you another strange thing about it. It so happened that a number of psychiatrists who specialize in suicide were having a convention here in the city. And they all said, well, look, if they do that and have all these people on the bridge, at least 40 or 50 of them will jump off. Huh? You know, nobody jumped off. And there was even little kids walking on the catwalk outside the railing. And nothing happened to any of them. Stop and think of it. If one politician in this city could get that many votes, he'd be running for president right now. 800,000, I think, is more than our basic population of the city. After everybody goes home for the weekend, huh? There's 100,000 people and 150,000 more. But remember, that's a bridge. It's a bridge on the Golden Gate. And something inside of them told them something. And maybe that's something that hasn't come clear to them, goes something like this. Only through the orchid door of the heart and the violent flame therein may you place your feet on the rainbow bridge that leads to the city of the Golden Gate and the shrine of clear light therein. Stop and think of that for a minute. Nobody said anything to them about anything like that, but they felt the pull. And you're still going to try to tell me that nothing don't mean something?
I don't usually do that, but I thought it fit into something I'm trying to communicate that you can't communicate. And if there was ever a time for the power of nothing in alignment with the Midi-Chlorian beings, dwelling in our system and in alignment with the self-organizing planetary intelligence within which we live and move and have our beings. And Matrikas and the Pleiades, enwrapped as we are in this Mysterium, transforming as we live and breathe into the Maitreya, into the coming Buddha of love. If there were ever a time for the power of nothing, or there were ever if you wanted, the singularity, what is the ointment for that singularity? It would be this power of nothing, this thing that you can't really describe, except in the language of love. So, get back here for the last. So, invoke the power of the Matrika, feel the presence of the Midi-Chlorians, immerse yourself. This word changed for me, panorama. Pan, everything, O, Ra, Ma, panorama. Immerse yourself in the panorama of the Mysterium and lean forward into the promise of Maitreya. This is a pyramid burning out on the playa of burning. That's all. So let's just take a moment and relax into the breath. Belly breath, heart breath, whatever comes naturally. Not attempting to direct thoughts or shape thoughts. Just feeling how it is. This great circle of light. If you would just, we all know Anjali Mudra, the prayer mudra, but I want you to put your hands together like this, it's the lotus mudra, just like this, and hold it in your heart. So you could be holding a lotus in your palms of your hand. You could be holding a mirror that's reflecting the lotus. In Padmasambhava, the lotus of the great compassion. Each of us has that lotus. Each of us is that lotus at the center of our being, not the Anahata chakra, but the Hridaya chakra, which, if you want to put locality to it, is behind the Anahata and to the right. But in fact is the lotus blossom that all of our existence blossoms forth from. And the mud is the mud. So feel for a moment the lotus blossom of your own heart, beautifully opened as it is. And I just want to say the 12-syllable mantra of the Vajra Guru and the Vajra Yogini Padmasambhava initials. I just want to say it 3 times. And I'll repeat it a couple of times, and then if you feel like you want to join in, you can, or you can just be with it and ride with it. The first syllable is Om, Ah, Hum, Benzo, Guru, Pema, Siddhi, Hum. So what does it mean? Oh, timber fox. It means there's an exoteric and an esoteric translation, but I'm going to give you mine. To me, Om Ahum Benzaguru Pemasi Om means thou creatrix utterness, grant us an awesome load of truth, power, and love. Bring it. Om Ahum Benzaguru Pemasi Om. Truth, love, and power. Om Ahum Benzaguru Pemasi Om. 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 Could have talked for the whole evening about the 12-syllable mantra and what Yeshe Zogyal promises if you say it 100,000 times and 200,000 times and 800,000 times, forward or backwards. But that's for another time. Thank you for your patience and your presence. And the vibes of the heart be realized in this lifetime. All together, big breath, loud and vulgar ha. Ha!
So now we give Richard love from our heart to his. We can do that in several ways, but we'll go for we do 3 yafatas, 3 loud and vulgar yafatas. Yafata, yafata, yafata. And now we've got something else. It's Richard's birthday. Oh well, that works, huh?
And we can
Want some help with that?
stand up.
Oh, I'm going to tape it right here. See if it works. Thank you so much.
Some kind of a circle.
Yeah, so.
A roundish shape.
Sorry we didn't get up and move.
And, go ahead and go on in
We
there.
had work to do.
I'm going to get right where you are, JR. Take that out. Okay, so grab a hand. Grab a lunch hook.
Joe used to say, grab lunch hook. Lunch hook. That's how you hold your lunch hook.
Let's hope for the best here. Experimental film. And let me in. Peggy, you want to read the song?
All right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy
birthday, dear Okay. Yeah, better. Yeah, better.
Please don't leave and try to drive for at least 20 minutes. And there's cake and ice cream.